discuss. We're going to take a journey in terms of digital, and I sat down and I listened to a lot of interesting things that were discussed and mentioned, which are very, very interesting. So we're going to take that journey of where are we, how do we leapfrog there, and what are the learnings we can actually take from what has happened globally and what we can adopt here. And we'll round off with questions. The first obvious thing is the world is changing. We have a world that's more interconnected, where you can easily connect with anyone. A world that is instrumented, because you see scenarios where even a driver has 3 phones. And we have a world that is intelligent. Now, in this new world, the way life and businesses and governments interact has basically changed. Now, if you consider even simple examples, let's look at the early 90s. If I was to visit someone, I would essentially see him and we'll agree on where we will meet, probably his house, and I'll go all the way there, hoping that he's around and he, remembers that we're to have that meeting. No mobile. But we're now in an era of a changing world where if you were to go visiting without even a phone call, it's considered rude. That is essentially where we are. So if we look at some of the timelines from when there was even no digital, so if we look at 1975, where we had a few companies who had technology for things like even digital cameras, but sacrificed innovation for growth and lost out in that transformation and change. If you fast forward to 1994, the age where we had cassettes and you put in a biro to forward and rewind, there was a revolution from a digital point of view where we had music storage, evolution of CDs, and things were changing in terms of how we store data. Fast forward to 2004, we had companies who failed to transform digitally and essentially lost out in the mobile revolution. Now we're here, 2017, with a full changing world and a shifted customer and constituent base. So the reality is, while we look at examples from organizations and examples from how the ecosystem and the way we interact with the advent of things like social media has changed interaction, you find out that the same individuals and people that use these digital technologies or social media, the same customers, are also constituents. And these are people that have a seamless experience and expect nothing less when they are interacting with their government. Now, what is Utopia? A state where everything, an ideal situation from what we've talked about, and I listen to people talk about, single database, singular information. It's essentially everything in one place. Now, won't it be fantastic if whatever service you want, all you need to do is go into one single system, from be it a license to clearing a car to whatever service. Simple system, all the information you need in a single view, every single thing about a citizen fully in a single view, a fully interactive system. And the bottom line is essentially making the interaction simple and easy. Not a daunting task, but very simple and easy. And this is essentially what the world of digital is. Now, when we look at digital services, what are we looking at? We're looking at the delivery of data and content across multiple sources. We're not just looking at a website, but we're looking at delivering content through web, through mobile, and essentially automating processes and encouraging a full single view. Now, the reality is, it's not just technology. It's technology, the adoption, management, and even some of the policies around encouraging the growth of this within our social reality. Now, the reality is from the vision and the dream of where we want to be, and looking at essentially where we are. And I listened to some speakers that talked about a few agencies already collaborating. I think I heard FIRS and the police and helping with cars. We are on a journey, but we're essentially not where we want to be. But knowing Nigeria, knowing Africa, we're a nation that can leapfrog. We've been known to beat conventional wisdom in terms of the type of adoption of technology and the growth within the sector. So is it a reality? Yes, it is. How do we bridge that gap? How do we ensure we have the right policies, programs, and sessions for awareness like this to ensure that we're moving in the right direction? Now, we've seen a few things in terms of the ease of doing business, for example, and if we look at some of the highlights of that, where we talk about information management and timelines, port operations, business registrations, essentially ease of business. Now, we know the what. The challenge is, and not really the challenge, but what we need to focus on is the how. How do we do it? And how do we ensure it's sustained across individuals, across agencies, across governments? Okay? So first of all, let's look at productivity. Now, if we're looking at unproductivity due to the lack of digital services, one of the key things we should ask ourselves is, what is the cost? How do we quantify unproductivity? Sometimes you don't have agencies, you don't have the same agency within the same country to basically compare this to. But if you look at the amount of manpower essentially spent on efforts that yield little or no results or frustration. So even if I look at a simple call center example, you call a center, and I don't know if we've experienced this before. You call a center, and halfway through the process, you are given an overview of why you are calling, and suddenly the line goes off, and they will identify you, your name, what you do, and then you put in your complaint, and the line cuts, credit or network or whatever. The reality is when you call again, what happens? You're probably routed to another agent, and you start the entire process again, where you have to still reintroduce yourself, say all that. If you had a system where you had full continuity, that would be easy. Now, as I said, individuals that experience this from a customer point of view expect none less. So from an internal point of view, we need to look at how do we have the essential management policies and adoption to drive full internal productivity. Now, I'm not sure how clear this is. Okay. Transparency and accountability. First thing is easy access to information. The reality is, how do people, organizations, or governments make informed decisions? Is by getting accurate information, analyzing, managing, predicting trends, and seeing essentially how do you drive full informed decisions based on the information you have. This is where digital services come to play and provide that full accountability and full transparency across all processes. If we look again at system integration and we say to ourselves, what's the best and most optimal way? We know the challenge. What's the optimal way of bringing all the data together and having a single view? How do we make A talk to B, talk to C in a seamless system that can easily be queried